So without further ado, here's Off the Cuff with Gabriel DeSanti. Gabriel, what's going on, man? Good to see you, bro.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too.
Seeing you from TikTok, Instagram, all over YouTube, man, to having you in person, it's a privilege and an honor to have you on the show, bro.
It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Man, you are on a mission to build the world's longest resume.
I am. It's kind of ridiculous to say and also hear it out loud.
Do you honestly keep tabs of all the jobs you've been on so far?
Oh yeah.
That's fire.
I own worldslongestresume.com.
Oh, word?
And you can go on there and see every single job that I've done.
That is fire. That is fire.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to lean into the story, man. We're going to dive into the amazing jobs. We've seen it all over, like I said, all these social media platforms. But, you know, if you had to pick one job specifically, if you had to clock in right now, what job would that be?
So I guess the job position would be an extreme tour guide.
Okay.
And there's this building in Hudson Yards where it's called The Edge.
Yeah.
And there's an experience there where you can hang off of the top, the very peak of the building. I forget the height, it's like 1,600 feet, I think, something like that. And so I not only got to do it, but I got to work it and be a tour guide. They trained me, and then I trained or taught other people, you know, how to hang off the side of the building. And I love that type of stuff. And so I could actually see myself clocking in there if I needed to. Yeah.
So is it because you like height, you like the thrill, you like the adventure? Like, well, what is it about kind of like these moments?
I mean, that job specifically, like, it doesn't feel like a job. Like, you just go up there, you have fun, you're outdoors, you get to meet new people. And so the combination of those things is what I like.
That's fire, man.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the content you produce, it brings you in. Right, it makes you feel like you're not speaking to a stranger. It feels like you've been a coworker for so long and stuff, which is an amazing thing to kind of test to the personality that you bring. Right, you make it feel like you're seeing somebody like really doing their job, but also feeling like they're part of that community.
Yeah,
it's pretty fire.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, it's a learned thing over time. You know, like I've learned different techniques on how to go about filming so that it does feel like, you know, I am a friend. And I heard this quote one time, or it was more of a conversation. I think it was Larry David or Larry King. One of the Larrys.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him, like, you know, what's the secret for a great interview? And he said there's not really a secret, but what he's found is that if he can make his guest comfortable, make his guest the most comfortable. Sorry, I said this wrong. If he's the most comfortable, then his guest is going to be the most comfortable, and then that's going to be the secret for the best interviews. And so that really like spoke to me. And so every time I go into a video, I just try to find ways to make myself the most comfortable, because then I'm just like my authentic self. I'm having a good time. I feel like the conversation can flow, and then hopefully my guest gets there too, which has been the case so far. That's
fire, man. And I'm a big believer of that. I think when you get to a space where you're at ease, you feel confident, you start to just let it flow. And I think that's what we see on a lot of your content. And, you know, before we dive into the specifics of like the technicalities, the logistics, all of the amazing things that you're doing, I kind of want to set the stage, right? Set the stage for Gabriel of who was Gabriel before this director, before this content creator, you know, that's all over these social media platforms.
Man, I mean, it's a little bit of a long story. Like, where I am today is 13 years in the making. You know, I started making videos on the internet 13 years ago. I was 13 years old.
Wow.
And that's like pretty cool, really, really cool that I've just found some sort of longevity. Like, you know, at first it started as a hobby, and then it turned into a career, which is the coolest thing ever. But there's like a huge like journey in there, you know. I knew I wanted to make videos forever at like 18.
Wow.
When I was 18, like that's pretty much when I knew. And at the time, it was like a really interesting like time in my life, because I had a completely different trajectory. Like, I was going to be an engineer. I started to go to university or college for electrical engineering. And I was working a full-time job as essentially an entry-level engineer, and they were like paying for me to go to school.
Wow.
You know, had this whole other life, essentially. And because of that, that led me to here. Because I'll do anything just not to go back to like working a job like that. And so that was like a huge motivator. And also luck and just great life experience. I say it's luck because I experienced it so early in my life. Experienced it at 17, 18, 19 years old working this job. And I figured out early what I didn't want to do. And so that let me kind of have the freedom early with a very minimal risk level to kind of jump into making videos online, making videos for clients, whoever. And then that's kind of when I jumped into making videos.
That's amazing. I think it's super important for us to really understand, because knowing what we don't like is as important of knowing what we do like.
Maybe more important.
Yeah, honestly. And the more you think about that too, is just the more it's just like, now that if you're able to check those boxes off, you start to kind of narrow in on what you've been kind of called to do.
Yeah.
But I want to dig in a little bit deeper though, because I know you said that you were an engineer and you did everything not to be back into that space. But was there a moment specifically, or a pivotal moment, that you kind of just said, you know, this is not where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah, the big moment was when I got hired at that job. I had this one boss. Best boss I ever had. It's amazing. He taught me a lot. I learned, like, I felt like I went in every day and I was excited. I really did enjoy the work. Like the actual, like the work I was doing, like I enjoyed. At a certain point, my boss that hired me got a promotion and he like moved up, and I got someone new as a boss. And that period of time just was not great. It wasn't great. And that was that period of time was the pivotal moment, because I just learned that I never wanted someone else to control like how happy I was at work, you know? And that was very much what it felt like. I stopped learning. I wasn't learning from this person. And it was just really hard. So that was a pivotal moment.
Wow. And I feel like a lot of us, you know, who may be watching this, we're maybe in a season right now where, you know, we don't have the direct manager that we may be seeing eye to eye,
right,
or we get to a place where we stop learning. I feel like I've been in certain roles where that ambition kind of fades away slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of seeking for more, right? And it's kind of like that, you know, that knock on the door is saying, you know, what are we doing here, or what is it that next looks like? So what advice would you share to those individuals who may be in that season right now?
You know, there's so many different routes that you can take. For me, I'm like blessed with the entrepreneurial spirit, and you know, my dad and his whole side of the family are all entrepreneurs. Not in any glamorous way whatsoever. Like my dad does heating and air conditioning. His dad was sold tires. Wow. You know, they're very manual labor, but it's still entrepreneurial nonetheless, you know? And so I'm blessed with that spirit and that drive to just like want to do my own thing. And so for those out there who have that drive, you know, that's an option if they're in that type of situation where they're not super happy at work. Like it's always an option. My other advice, I'm gonna just tell a little story real quick. Sure. I was blessed recently to make a video, not only make a video, but have like a really in-depth conversation with the former CEO of 7-Eleven.
I saw that.
His name's Jim Keys. And I just had like, man, my video with him is only like 90 seconds, but I had 4 hours of conversation with him, just asking him all different types of advice. And some of it was about this, you know, like what happens in those situations, or how do you kind of like move in between positions, you know, if you find like you're not happy or you know that you can grow. And his advice was like, in our conversation and our dialogue was like learning to identify your awareness. So like, I'm saying this because if you're working a job and you're not happy and you want to do something else, you need to be aware that like maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you. right? And going off on your own, like that might not be an option. So if that's not an option, how do you kind of move up or make a change? And so what Jim did was he would write a letter to his boss's boss, not in any way, you know, being demeaning to his boss, but just saying like, this is what I would do better, or this is what I wish could be different. And the people who are able to make change can make change. And if you're valuable, and if you show value, and if you show, you know, a better way of doing things, then oftentimes those things can be implemented. So that was his like story on how to kind of get through that.
Amazing.
Plus my advice on how I went about it.
Yeah, no, bro, I love that. And I think to your point, right, we all have different paths. And, you know, it's about embracing the season that you're also in, understanding what you're learning to better prepare yourself for that next season and stuff, which is something that I think we all should just lean in on. And, you know, even myself too, like, entrepreneurship is not an easy road. It's not, like you said, it's not for everybody. There is a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows. And when there are lows, there are lows, and you have to fight through those lows, and you have to remember why you started in the first place and stuff. So, you know, I'm going through it. I conversations like this right here, what you see here, this is my happy place. Yeah. You know, this is where I feel most happy. Like, I've always had this vision of traveling the world, interviewing people, making them feel seen, making them feel comfortable. It's that vision. Like, anytime I'm like coffee chatting with people or doing something, I always had in the back of my mind, I'm like, we're on set right now. There's cameras around. There's everybody around how to hold this production team, and I'm just having a conversation. I was with a friend at Sweet Chick the other day, and I'm like, yo, I just asked you a question, and you just went deep into that question. But it was like, it's energy, right? It's the energy we feel. It's like God moving in me and being able to project that question and like settle the room. And I'm just like, I took a minute. I was just like, yo, I feel like we're on set right now. And that vision is something that, you know, I'm still pushing through. But, you know, hopefully one day God would align everything to make it come to life and stuff. And it's moments like that's my happy place. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I think I want to dive into more of that story, right? Because you're seeking kind of away from the entrepreneurship, the engineering, into what we see now as a content creator. Where did the idea come about? Like, what initially inspired it?
Okay, I can't tell this story without introducing my friend Caleb. Caleb Simpson, he's another creator on the internet. He makes the apartment tour videos. How much do you pay for rent?
Yep.
And so the story kind of starts with Caleb. Working with Caleb, we're best friends. We work out at the park. Not anymore. We used to work out at the park every morning when we lived close to each other. And we were always just like, you know, just shooting the shit and like just talking about different things. And one day he was at Washington Square Park and he asked somebody in a video how much they paid for rent. And it just like sparked this thing in him where he was like, the next day at the park, he's like, hey, I think I'm gonna ask people like to tour their apartments. And we were like, okay, like that's cool. Like, let's go film one right now. And so then we just went to my apartment and we just filmed the first one. Wow. And he posted it. It did really well. And then he just kept continuing on that journey. And so at the same time, like those videos are performing well. So we're talking about like, what is it about those videos that are doing well? Is it the question? Is it the tabooness of asking someone how much they pay for rent? Like, is it actually going and seeing inside their apartment? And it was probably like a little bit of both is what we suspected. And so we were like, how do we do this, but do it a little bit differently? And then that's when the topic of like older TV shows came up. Like we were comparing his show to MTV Cribs. So like, what is like this next concept? And we landed on Dirty Jobs. And it's an old iconic show on Discovery where this guy, Mike Rowe, tries the dirtiest jobs in America. And it's a great show. It's really great. And we were like, what if we kind of like spun off of that? And so let's take the same format that we see working for apartment tours and do it for people's jobs. So asking people how much do you make a year, and then asking to go see their job, go to work with them. And at first, like, it was just going to be this like job tour type thing. Like I thought I was just going to go to people's offices and like see the office, and like that was going to be it. And then it kind of accidentally turned into me building the world's longest resume.
That's fire, man.
Yeah.
And it's the journey that, you know, it's always ongoing.
Yeah.
There's always a new job. There's always a new person. There's always a new story to capture.
Yep.
And I'm sure it wasn't easy. Either getting started, producing it, kind of going through the motions of it.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the things people don't see, and some of the sacrifices you had to make to get to this place right now?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been making the show for 1.5 years. So like I'm sitting here, like you asked me 1.5 years into me making the show to come be on this, right? Like there's like no overnight success. Like what you didn't see is the 13 years of me making videos like by myself or with my friends that didn't work at all, you know, but it worked because we're here now, and I had to like learn all of the failures in order to get here. But with the show specifically, I mean, you know, just trying to go to work with people, trying to get someone to say how much money they make. How much do you make a year in New York?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. It ever flows. We're freelancers. We're entrepreneurs. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it fluctates, bro. Like,
right?
It's crazy. But like to your point, like it's not an easy question.
It's not an easy question, and I love that. It's a taboo question.
Yeah.
Some people love to share. Some companies love to share. Other companies, big organizations are like, no way, like no one's saying like.
Yeah.
And so that's a battle, you know, but as I make each episode, it gets a little bit easier. People open up a little bit more. Yeah, I want to respect people's privacy. Like,
sure.
You know, I'm not going to get in someone's face, be like, how much you have to tell me? Like, it's not like that.
And what is the process, like the creative process of all of that? You know, like tell us a little bit more about that idea and framework of like how you go about it.
So once it kind of made the switch into me building the world's longest resume, that's when it got really fun, because then it was just about me asking myself, what do you want to do? And what interests you? Like what interests me? And because if you saw me next week release 3 episodes of working at 3 different restaurants, like that would just get really boring.
Yeah.
Right? Like no one wants to see the same thing over and over and over again. And while my show is the same thing over and over and over again, it's fresh because it's always a new job.
Right.
And so I have to curate it to a certain extent. And to make any piece of like sustainable series on the internet, it has to be like set up to a certain extent. And I'm transparent about that. Like when I do the intros of the video, how much do you make a year in New York? Yeah. That interaction is a setup interaction. Like I know tomorrow who I'm going to work with. I know who I'm going to work with next week. But once I get to the job, I have no idea what's going to happen. So the element of surprise is organic past that intro section, which by the way, I also film at the end. Just like you said, you film the intro at the end.
Yep.
I always film the intro at the end.
Okay.
Just because I learned that if I ask someone straight up front, even if I know them, how much do you make a year in New York? And then they answer that question, and then we film the video, it's much harder to be loose with them and have a great time. Where if I just like jump into trying their job and we're shooting the shit and having a good time, then we're friends, like we're family.
I'm gonna tell you what it is.
And then at the end, I'm like, how much you make a year in New York? And like, whatever happens after that. And like, it's usually great. It's usually great. So that's kind of what goes into it. So I do curate the show because I want to make something that's interesting for me. I want to make something that's interesting for the viewers. So yeah, I'm always looking for different people, different jobs to try. And yeah.
I love that, man. And I don't want to go unanswered. Actually, when I was in corporate, I was making 6 figures and stuff. But, you know, we're no longer in corporate right now, so things are fluctuating. But it's something that, you know, you do see so many ample people, so many dollars coming in. And like you said, people are making millions and other people are making, you know, not as in that route. But you see people still showing up.
Yep.
You still see people showing up to work in some of the most interesting jobs, some of the most humbling jobs.
Yep.
And, you know, we all have our own divine path. And I wanted to ask you the question of, like, is there a specific job that you went that kind of shocked you a little bit, but also made you gain a deep appreciation for that job?
Yeah. These guys that are out here in like the food carts and the street vendors, like that's hard work, man. And it's like, from their words themselves, like it's not a career. Like it's just a means to like get by right now.
Yeah.
But to do that sustainably in New York City, like it's not you can't do it sustainably.
Sure.
You know? I just have so much respect for those guys. Like, and there's all different sorts of carts out there, right? Like the breakfast carts that serve pastries and coffee. Like those guys are waking up at 1 a.m, 2 a.m, like getting their carts there at 4:30. Like they're ready to go, and then they're done by 11, right? Like that's a lot. It's still a lot of work. Like you're up, like you're sacrificing time with your family, all different things. So just lots of respect for those guys.
That's amazing.
And women.
Yeah, for sure, man, of course. It's definitely something that, you know, sometimes, you know, and that's why we're in that mission, right, of giving people their flowers, because people sometimes overlook those interactions.
Yeah.
And I think we always wait for those what if moments or the God forbid moments. It's like, oh, I appreciate it. Look, no, let's do it now. You know, so like as you are on a mission to build the longest resume, we're on a mission just to make this like a constant thing that we're thinking about.
Yeah. Whether
Whether it's a coworker, whether it's a stranger, whether it's somebody that it doesn't look like they're having a good day. It's like, how can you be that light to their day?
Yeah.
You know, so like, bro, like the content that you're doing and curating, man, it's inspiring, and
Thanks.
It has opened up many doors. We've seen partnerships. I just saw the NHL partnership there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty creative. Like when it comes to like these brands kind of being integrated in this, like are you kind of responsible coming up for your own ideation, and like where do you gain your inspiration from?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like where the ideas from the brand partnerships come from, like I kind of will pitch something to them. Sometimes they come with like a base idea, and then I have to kind of pitch on top of it or explain how I would integrate my idea. I learned from a past brand opportunity that it really needs to work into my show, right? Like I need to go to work at your company.
Yeah.
Or work some type of position inside of your company in order for it to work, because otherwise it's not going to perform how we all want it to perform. Yeah. We all, like, if there's like a money exchange, like I want it to perform well, or else I feel bad, right? But sometimes the brand wants what they want, and like that, and that's it, and they're paying, right? So we've had to kind of buckle down and double down and be like, we're only doing this deal if it's in this format, which makes the ideation process like fairly simple, right? Like there's going to be someone who I can go to work with at the organization, and then we just figure out kind of the rest.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. Like once you're in the door, like everything else is just pretty much flowing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that speaks to a lot of the diversity in jobs, but also, you know, it speaks to how grounded you need to be on the spot, right? It almost like there's a few acting moments involved there. Yeah. There's a improv and stuff, but also like you're quick on your feet. I kind of want to speed up a little bit into the transition here, because I think, you know, a lot of us, you know, who are tuned in today, we either are creatives, entrepreneurs, content creators, influencers, or just people in corporate looking to leave the 9-to-5 to go into their calling or what they're looking, or what they're passionately looking to do.
Sure.
And I know that you just made that transition actually this year in January.
Yep, just 2 months ago.
Bro, congrats, man, for real. Congrats. Tell us a little bit more about that transition, because I know it's not an easy one, but you know, when the time is right, it's right.
Yeah, and you know, the saying like, you're never gonna be ready is like so true. Like, was I planning on going full time? Like, no way. Like, and I don't think I was I prepared? Yes. Was I ready / expecting this to happen this way? Like, no way. But essentially, you know, I've been producing the show for a year and a half now. So come Q4 of 2023, that's what I've nicknamed brand deal season.
Okay.
That's like where a lot of the money comes is in
Q4.
Q4. Yeah. Everyone's trying to spend their marketing budget for the end of the year. And so it's all coming, and it's coming at a bigger amount than it usually does. So I had a really good Q4, and it was my first time like really making money online in that way, from brand deals and stuff. And then an interesting thing happened, and you'll understand this, like doing production, like Q1 is usually slow or dead because everyone's like trying to figure out what their budget is for the beginning of the year, and nothing really happens until Q2.
And sometimes the fiscal years are a little bit different for different brands.
Yes.
It might not be Q1 for them. They might still be in other moments and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
And before you like continue the story, I want to like, how in advance did you start pitching for Q4? Because I think that's also important for the viewers to see, you know, where is the ideal time to start getting some of those Q4 dollars or activating in those spaces with some of these brands?
So I haven't done any outreach for the show. And keep in mind, the framing of this was in 2023, the whole year I'm still freelancing. So I'm still freelancing in Q4 of last year. You know what I mean? So I'm not like pitching, really going out and getting new work at that time, like, or looking for brand dollars at that time. Everything that happened came inbound.
Nice.
But those were being negotiated like September and October, and then they're executed throughout November, December. Makes sense. I think I even had one as early as August.
Wow.
A conversation started, and then it wasn't released until the first week of December. So like they're happening early. It's good lead time, but also annoying because like you know that this money's coming, but I'm still waiting on some of the money, like even from December.
Wow.
Because of like the net payment terms and all that. But so that's the framing on like Q4, right? And usually Q1, historically for me and for freelancers in production especially, is really slow. And I just got blessed that like Q1 started to get negotiated in like December.
Wow.
And in even November, like I started seeing emails come through of deals that were going to be happening in Q1. And I was like, okay, like that's interesting. Like that's a blessing. You know, I just thought I was going to have like a wicked start to the year. And then I had a client, I had a few clients at the end of the year that I was renegotiating with going into 2024. They wanted to work with me in bigger capacities and different capacities, all that stuff. So, you know, perfect time for a renegotiation. And we just didn't come to terms, you know, and it just didn't work out the way that I wanted. I felt like I put in like really, you know, modest offers and it just didn't land. And that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay. And so I could have taken like the counter offer, but I just like, I wouldn't have been super stoked on like the counter offer because I felt like it like would have deserved more. And so I'm looking at my forecast for Q1 and beyond and how the show's doing. And I was just like, I think this is just the time. Like, I think this is just the world's way of telling me that, you know, it's go time. And so that's why I said, like, you're never going to be ready. Like, it's going to come when it comes and it's going to happen when it happens. And you just gotta decide, like, are you going to go or are you not? And so I just decided to go. And so I just declined, you know, all of like the renegotiations, and I decided just to go full time on making videos for myself now. For myself.
I love that, bro. Man, congrats. And I think
Thank you.
That's the position that is it's you have the autonomy to just be you and do the things that you do and really kind of live that calling that you've been called to do, which is really an amazing thing. And you know, I would say the viewers watching today, who may be on the fence of like posting their content or hesitate, or, you know, like you said, you know, you're not ever ready, but maybe viewers today are hesitating of waiting for the right time to post, or like stacking up the content before releasing.
Yeah.
Or just even hesitations is just based off like, you know, fear, right? Because, you know, how fear can also get in the way of doing things that make you nervous, but that's actually where you find growth.
Yeah.
What would you share with them right now?
I think that everything you just mentioned is just part of the process. Because I've been there and I've done everything that you just named off. Like I've like held episodes so that I could like release them later, or like stack them, you know, one after the other. I've been nervous. I've done it all. And I think it's just part of the process of learning and becoming who you are as a creative. And then once you are 100% authentically yourself, it just works. So you have to go through like all of those struggles and like those moments, and just know like it's just part of the process. And if it's like not working and you're like frustrated, like just work through that. Just work through it, because I promise it's on the other side. Yeah.
Step by step, you know?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to growing your audience, right? You've done an amazing job of really tapping into the numbers, expanding it all across platforms.
Yeah.
What are some of the tips or strategies that I feel like, you know, we can all learn, including myself, right? Anything, when you build things from ground up, it either takes time. You said it doesn't happen overnight. So what are some of those tips or strategies that have worked for you that could potentially help others along the way?
It's gonna take a while. And I'll use this example of my own page. On Instagram, when I started the show, I had 75,000 followers already. So I had like a little base, but I was doing something completely new. So it was essentially like growing a new audience. Yeah. I'm sitting at 152,000 followers on Instagram right now. The first year of producing the show, it grew only 5,000 followers.
Wow.
For the first year, I've been doing it for a year and a half. So in the last 6 months, I've doubled the following. I've grown another 75,000. You just have to get through it, and like, there's gonna be the smallest tweaks that are gonna make the biggest difference. But my first layer of advice is to just be like hyper aware of your own like emotions and connection to the project. Because it's yours, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's good. And just having that awareness is gonna help you make the tweaks that it needs in order to like just get over that hump to the next step. Past that, it might be the smallest thing that you don't even know is affecting the show or your content that's gonna help it grow. So for me, the whole first year, I was doing collab posts, and every single post I did with a person was a collab post. And the page only grew 5,000 followers. And it got to a point where I did this one episode, and the person didn't even have Instagram. He like collects cans for a living, and that's what he does. He's not online, you know? And so I just posted that video. It was a really great video. It struck the heartstrings, and like, it was one of my first videos with millions and millions of views. But it wasn't a collab post, and it took off. It just like in a world of its own. And I just had this suspicion. I was like, I wonder if it went that viral because it wasn't a collab post. So then I started testing that. And sure enough, the videos that were collab posts are getting throttled. Even today, after all of the new growth, if I post a video that's a collab post, it has like 30 to 40,000 views in it. That's it. If I post that same video again, not as a collab post, easily over 100,000 views. I can almost guarantee it. And so that was a huge switch for me in the growth. So people have to be analytical and aware of everything, and those things, you only figure those things out through testing, and you just have to just try different things. I hope that answered it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's few aspects here, right, of really kind of diving in the fact that it's clear that you are very analytical because you're able to know kind of the month over month, year over year, the data telling the numbers, but also making sure that the testing, like, you know, when I was in corporate, we did a lot of that testing. It was A/B testing, right?
Yep.
Whether it's a new product, you know, trying out a new feature, what is the data telling us and stuff. So I think that's super helpful to just understanding, like, it's not an overnight process, but there's beauty into the journey.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately when I reach out to guests, I always try to unravel the beauty behind the journey because it's not always so easy.
Yeah.
Right. And if I was to set the stage for you right now, you know, is there something specifically that you haven't had the chance to share or the platform to share it on? You know, what is that story? What is that message?
I mean, I guess the thing that I want to share is I just want to share more of what I'm currently doing. Like, these episodes are only a minute or 90 seconds, you know, and I want to be able to tell much more of an in-depth story. So that's kind of what I'm working on, is working on longer form videos now. None of them have been released yet, but you know, that's coming. But like, I think the message in the videos is that, like, you know, there's a job out there for everybody, and as long as you're passionate about it, then the number really doesn't matter. Like, when I ask people how much I make a year in New York, like, I don't care. Like, as long as you're happy with what you're doing, like, that's what really matters. And I love when that shines through the video. So I hope, you know, I can just continue to find those stories, people who really love what they're doing, because you see it even in the comment section. Like, people get behind it. People get behind it if they know that the person loves it.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty in it, right? Is understanding that happiness can be found in so many different ways and so many different forums. Yeah. And it always goes to that message of, like, you know, put yourself in other people's shoes just for a day or just for that moment. You're able to really understand and grow that appreciation for so many people.
Which, by the way, like, is the most special part of the show. In no other world would I be a dentist for a day. Would I be hanging off these buildings? Would I be driving a taxi cab? Like, in no other world does anybody just get to do all these things. Yeah. And that is a blessing. And it's the coolest job in the world.
That's amazing. You know, and I think that's you giving them their flowers of appreciation of just going in there, really diving into that. You know, and as we wrap up here, Gabe, I definitely kind of want to shine the light in the last couple of questions here. Like, what kind of keeps you grounded in all of these moments right now? You know, we know that the highs are high, the views are views, right? But I'm sure that there's things that don't always align. Yeah. And don't always stick. Like, what keeps you fully grounded in those moments to keep going?
I mean, for as long as I can remember, and I told a little bit of story, like, I just wanted to make videos. And what keeps me grounded is not going back into, you know, the corporate world, a corporate job. So anything that I can do to not go back to there, like, that's what I'm going to do. That's kind of what keeps me grounded. And I've had that experience in my life. And so I'm so grateful that I get to, you know, wake up every day and make videos in all different capacities, right? Yeah. Only as of 2 months ago is it for myself. Previously, it was a lot of freelance work. But I'm still I was still so happy then. Like, I got to wake up and make a video that day. So that's what keeps me grounded.
That's fire, man. And listen, and I guess the most famous question that everybody is curious to know right now, how much do you make a year in New York?
Last year after taxes, I made $97,000, I think.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire. And you're projected to make this year?
What am I projected to
What are you manifesting?
I'm manifesting $500,000 this year. And that can be like, you know, before taxes. Before taxes in 2023, I made like $180,000. So I had $90,000 in business expenses, essentially.
For sure.
Which is fine. This year, I'm definitely going to have a lot of business expenses. Like, I'm reinvesting into the show. more than I have previously because there's more coming in. I mean, I think I could do $250,000 this year. Based on how the year has gone so far.
That's cool.
It's March. For educational purposes, it's March, and I've made $50,000 so far this year.
That's fine.
And those are closed invoices, so that's what is made.
And we're still waiting for the net, but
We're still
yeah,
those are closed invoices, and there's more coming in, and there's more projected, so I can kind of see it. So hopefully we make $250,000 this year, but I'm manifesting $500,000.
Yeah, let's get it. And then once we revisit this, we're gonna make sure that we run this back and stuff.
Yeah.
But Gabe, I definitely wanted to give you to spend the time right now to give you your flowers, man. I appreciate everything that you continue to do, and I think giving us a look of the day-to-day jobs that we don't even think about. And then when we do end up seeing that person or congratulating that person or even visiting that person, I think we all should take it from another lens to say, you know what, they are doing something that either makes them happy or making just the bills, paying the bills. But I think just aligning that deeper appreciation for humans, right, of what they do and how they show up. There's
So many thankless jobs out there, and those people are all unsung heroes who just help keep New York, and outside of New York help keep the world, makes the world go round. And so like those are the superstars. Like
sure.
the videos that I'm making, like I might be like the host and I might be making them, but like whoever I go to work with that day, like they're the superstar. And they make it what it is.
I know, and I love that, man. And we see it. It's a humbling experience, and I'm like, you wear so many different hats, and like you said, they're the heroes and stuff. But I always flip it back to the guests and ask them, who would you give your flowers to?
Who would I give my flowers to? I give my flowers to my parents. Just they did a really good job with raising me with the right mindset. My mom and my dad taught me work ethic, and like I'm so thankful for that, and that's something I'll take with me the rest of my life. They did a great job, and I love them so much. So
that's fire.
The flowers go to them.
And if they were watching this, what would you share with them right now?
Mom and Dad, love you guys, and I'm gonna take care of them. I'm gonna take care of them.
That's a blessing.
That's a goal. Yeah. I want to take care of my
circle.
parents.
Full circle moments, man. But Gabe, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your time. I'm excited just to see the roll out of this, but I'm excited to see, what the future holds for you.
Thank you.
And if there was one job that you're also manifesting, what is that one job?
A window washer. A window washer. I've gone to 30 hours, more than 30 hours of training. I'm certified. I got my suspended scaffolding certification. I have my OSHA certification. I'm trying to be a window washer, man. So I'm manifesting that for this year.
Let's get it. Yo, we're going to see you on the next window washing job, and we're going to rerun this tape, man. But we wish you all the best, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And that was Off the Cuff with Gabriel DeSanti.
Peace.